Welcome to BookTok for BookTok with Jack and Amy, a literary podcast where we deep dive into the writings of your favorite novels. During this season of Aquarius, we are hosting a book club while we prepare our literary analysis of Sarah J. Maas's A Court of Silver Flames.
This is Jack.
And I'm Amy.
And each week we'll discuss one book from our Season of Aquarius book club roster. By using our literary background, we'll provide our flash analysis of each book, as well as discuss listener thoughts. This week we're discussing Silver Elite by Dani Francis.
The views expressed by the hosts are entirely their own and in no way represent the thoughts or intentions of the original author. This podcast is a discussion, shared to spark thought and conversation on the characters and themes of this novel. The interpretations presented in this podcast are just a few of many possibilities. Listeners are encouraged to read along and share their own analysis of the text.
Though the hosts speak mostly within the constraints of this book, series spoilers may be discussed with or without warning. Explicit language, as well as themes of sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death will recur throughout this podcast. Listener discretion is advised. If you're enjoying the podcast, please check out our Patreon for more exclusive content. You can find us at patreon.com/BookTokForBookTok. So we are here today to discuss Silver Elite. This is a Patreon live stream. So if we are talking to people, we are talking to our patrons.
And we will read their chats to us as they contribute live.
And if you wanted to do that, then, go sign up, please. I think we're going to try to start doing a thing where we show where our money goes to.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have Kayla do a monthly wrap up. It was Amy's idea.
Oh, we're going to do it monthly? I like that.
Yeah, because then that way we can just kind of say, hey, none of this goes to us. We're just trying to keep this thing afloat. Okay, so hands up, tits up. Okay. Why the fuck is this getting so much hate? Ugh.
Side note, Jess, you can stay where you are. You can join the Riverside link, whatever you want to do. I think stay where you are because that's probably easier.
Because we can't promise that anything else will work at this point.
Yes, and I'm fine monitoring both chats. It's not like...
I wasn't going to.
No, I wasn't asking you to either.
No, I was letting Jess know. I'm like...
Okay, 10 words or less. It was a fun ride, more engaging than some others.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So we knew that this was going to be a controversial book going into this. We knew that there was a lot of commentary surrounding it. And even when we posted amongst our listeners saying what do you like? What do you not like? There was just some of these ongoing conversations. And I went to go on TikTok to be what is it that people have such issues with this? Everyone's throwing around AI. Everyone's throwing around all these things. And then I reached out to a listener who left. God bless this one. I mean, I was like, I'm not trying to go in on you, but I was like, can you give examples on why you think it's AI? Can you give examples of this, X, Y, and Z? And then finally she mentioned a podcast. So I started listening to other book podcasts. I never listen to other book podcasts just because I listen to ours. I don't actually listen to ours.
I used to listen to ours religiously. I'm very bad at listening to ours.
Every once in a while when I know we were funny, I'll go back and listen to us. Or awkwardly, you and I will be in the car together listening to us.
Yeah.
But I went in to listen to some other podcasts and get their thoughts on it. And for the first time, Amy and I broke tradition and we talked about the book. I was at the gym. I was mid squat. And I called Amy. Could you hear me panting as I was I was like, can you believe what they said? And I just was like, we need to talk about this before we even jump on to record.
Yeah. And I remember when this was being marketed before it even came out, right? It was already controversial in that it was supposedly a new pen name for an already popular author. And they wanted, for whatever reason, to be separate from that identity when they were publishing under the name or the pseudonym Dani Francis. Okay, fine. But because that was the marketing scheme the publisher decided to use, which I think was a terrible choice.
They haven't made great choices this year. I'm not going to lie.
No, I mean, it either was the best thing they did or the worst thing they did, because people either hate Reddit or they back up. They bought into, oh, I want to figure out who this is and sleuth it, or they hate Reddit.
I mean, they got sales at the end of the day. That's all that they care about.
That's all they care about.
Honestly, it was pretty smart. So should we talk about first the ambiguity of the author and the mystery surrounding Dani Francis and who people thought who it was? Like, there were God, the internet is so gross. There were so many comments. Some were funny. We're like, George R. Martin. I'm like, that's hilarious.
Yeah,
like,
that's hilarious.
He's going to finish this before he goes and finishes Game of Thrones. But then I saw comments saying, I could tell it's SJM because the writing's so bad. And then other comments, I can tell it's not SJM because the writing's so bad. And I'm just like, fucking hell. It's Colleen Hoover because the writing's trash. It's this. It's Rebecca Yarros because it's another war college. Like, it just was so much. It had so much commentary surrounding who it was.
Yeah. Jess says, marketing was infuriating. Fiction fan asked, is it confirmed who it is? And I think the answer is no.
No. It's not confirmed.
What I don't like about the commentary is that how all of it is about putting down a woman.
I know.
It's SJM because her writing's trash. It's not SJM because this woman's writing is trash. It's this person because the writing is trash. Like, yet you all read it.
Here is a great question. If this was a male author, would there have been issues? If it wasn't romantasy, would there have been issues? And I get the concept that, one, I don't know if I want to support a problematic author. If it's J.K. Rowling, I don't want to support her. I don't think it's J.K. Rowling. And currently, like, I'm very much like, I don't know who it is and I'm not going to question, because then there's other parts where, what if it's a woman of color who wants to be somewhat treated equally remotely? Or what if it's a trans woman? What if it's a woman who is not a straight white woman and they want their shot out there?
Right. What if the publisher lied? There are no regulations on marketing of this kind. Like, what if it is someone who just wanted a fair shot and they got their fair shot?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why an author, let's say if they are let's believe them, say this is a New York Times bestselling author and that they wanted to branch out. They wanted to not be judged. Like, the thing is, you don't do this without thinking you're not going to be judged. And that sucks. I feel bad for that. I mean, hopefully, I know someone might be like, boo-hoo, you feel bad for a bestselling author for creating another bestselling book. You know, like, there's only so much money publishing has for marketing, and it went behind to back another New York Times bestselling author, which again could be infuriating rather than supporting more debut authors. Like, there's a lot of reasons to be annoyed with it. But to your point, why is it that the commentary is always somehow bashing women one way or another?
Yep. For a moment, I also just had a thought. What if it was a popular children's book author?
That's another theory.
Which, again, whatever choices the author made, whatever choices the publisher made, we have to own as a community the fact that a lot of people got off on writing this one into the ground.
Oh my God. The commentary is so gross. I think you and I don't care about the authors because we really practiced death of the author in college. So it was like, oh, pen name? I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't even remember authors' real names in general. So when we go, the commentary was absolutely volatile. The way that people came in on this book, the way that it was discussed, and one of my pet peeves is the way that accusations of AI was thrown around when it comes to this book.
So we have a couple comments. Jess, tell me if I should be calling you Jessica. I think I call you just because of your Instagram. Jess says people are so bold throwing around hate statements about the writing. And then Fiction Fan says, I remember hearing about Stephen King doing it, publishing under a pseudonym to see if people would buy it without his name on it. I wonder what the reaction was to it then.
I mean, I saw other comments saying, I can tell a man wrote it because the spicy scenes were trash. I don't know.
I don't think that they were any worse than...
I think they were better than some of the other ones
I
we've read.
I agree.
It is hilarious how much it's like pointing. It was just so surrounded with so much negativity. Actually, I read about like 85% of it, and then we got busy, and then I had to stop, and then I was like, oh, let's do this for book club. And then I went back and re-listened, and we listened to it. We didn't read it, but we went back and I went back to listen to the whole thing, and I was like, I really fucking liked it the second time around too. I remember thinking my first impression of it was, oh, this had a team behind it. It read like editors were involved. Honestly, it read like it was developmentally edited. Like it felt like a classic book, a classic narrative.
It did. I'm going to say something. I'm going to say a hot take. Or I don't know if it's a hot take. It read like Jack said, like a classic story. So much so that, and granted, again, I listened to the audiobook, but I like the audio narrators in this book. I like the audio narrators. I love the audio narrators of Brimstone, and Silver Elite is far more engaging than Brimstone right now for me.
I think that too many people have gotten used to books, and we've talked about this before, where everything gets wrapped up in the last 10 pages type thing. And same thing kind of happened with Brimstone. Like at one point I looked at my phone, I'm like, I have 20 minutes left. What the fuck? Was that the climax? Like I was very confused about things. And I think that this is one of those books where you can see it's classically written in the sense of beginning, middle, end. You have that 25%, hero's journey change. You have that 50% moment. You have it has all of these beats that makes it a classical book. And, the climax happens, and there's time after the climax, and there's other things. So I just think people are trained to a point where they now think that this is predictable, when it's like, but that's narration, that's a book.
Right. And we heard this in some of the podcasts that we listened to about this, and we didn't listen to their whole thing. I think we listened to about 10 minutes. We have a hard time listening to other people. They do their podcast differently, and we try to stay focused on how we do our podcast. So this book, just because it follows a typical hero's journey, which we are taught as story writers is a perfect art form, thereby making it predictable, you can't get mad at that. And if we're accustomed to that being subverted, we can't be mad at an author who doesn't want to subvert the traditional plot structure
when it works. So
Yeah.
I think we are currently, this is recorded on December 2nd. We're currently wrapping up our Heir of Fire and going back and listening to some of our older, earlier parts of Heir of Fire. We talked about how the first half of Heir of Fire was SJM hitting these marks, these beats that we can tell this is what's going to happen. We were never upset that it was predictable. It was more of she's good at the emotion. I want getting the emotion with it. I can feel the beats. I can feel these things happen. And it doesn't mean that it's bad that something's going to happen. I personally like the emotional journey there. A lot of people were saying that Ren was not a developed character and that she was lacking emotion or anyone was able to connect with her.
So I have a theory on this. I think Ren is the closest to an actual 20-year-old I've read in a long time.
I think you're spot on.
I think Ren, and I say this because it's true for myself, the whole story, you are uncomfortable with the choices she is making. You are uncomfortable with how she's approaching things. At least I was. Because I'm like, obviously that's not what you should be doing, bitch. But, and I think this is why this book was so engaging, is because Ren made mistakes, and she made mistakes that are believable and that I could see myself making at 20 years old.
You know what Ren does? And maybe people don't know that, like, if you don't embrace it, then maybe she's a double downer. I'm going to double down.
So true.
And I am someone who doubles down. I mean, you know, like this, like what some of the people I was listening to, because I listen to different podcasts, and they're just like, well, why doesn't she just go into Silver Elite? Like, why isn't she just hurry up and get to the part of her joining Silver Elite? Why are we wasting so much time getting into there? And it's like, okay, well, one, you know, the rebellion isn't even talking to her because they know they're talking to a 20-year-old idiot. Two, she's busy pouting and being honestly, a lot of her like, well, fuck you, I'm not going to do shit then. I relate to.
Yeah. Jess does say, I read this a while ago and definitely forgot she's only 20. And that's the thing, is we expect so much from our FMCs, and rarely are they over the age of 25. And so when we have an FMC who is young and dumb, we get mad. And so I think we need to check ourselves a little bit. I thought her character was very well developed, and I felt like her choices were very aligned with who she was at her core.
Oh, yes. She lived for 3 or 5 years in darkness. 3 years in darkness, where they only came out to see sun for a couple hours a day. You don't think that she's not going to be a little off, a little bit of an oddball who doesn't make the smartest choices, who doesn't know how to interact with people. She lived in darkness for 3 years. She lived in a super small town. She had her uncle, she had her best friend, the best friend's dad, and then she stayed the hell away from people. Like, this isn't a woman who interacts with people, she's homeschooled, guys. Okay? We have to give some leeway.
Jess says, I didn't have this problem when I, too, was young and dumb. I think it's a certain type of personality, and I identify with it in the sense that it's this individual was raised to be very independent, right? To be able to live comfortably, navigate comfortably in the dark, pitch black all the time, to be able to hide their identity at any given moment. I think there's a certain level of independence, and with independence comes rebellion, in my opinion, because that's who I was. And I still am. I'm still a little rebellious, actually, quite frequently, when it comes to authority figures, when it comes to the workplace, because I just know I'm smarter.
It's so hard. What gets me frustrated are these like little flags, these little signs that people just breeze through, right? They're like, Ren's not developed. She's stubborn or whatever. Well, what about the time where she tells her uncle, well, I'm part of the rebellion. And he was like, no, you're not. You maybe have done a few runs, and you didn't even do a run. And yet she tells herself that she is part of the rebellion. And it's so fucking funny to me, where it's like that speaks volumes. And this is the thing, like, this is extremely first person, and even in the first couple sentences, it's so like honed in first person, like, I am picking up my gun, I am doing this. She is so one focus, narrow-minded, that you have to pick up the context clues surrounding her.
Right. Jess says, sorry, I meant I didn't have this problem of expecting too much of the heroines. Now, late 30s, I have concerns for the characters and forget their ages. That's fair. And I'm sorry, Jess, was not trying to be rawr. That's just been my day. I agree. And here's the thing. So again, we didn't read the physical book. I would love to see the physical book when it arrives, Jack, because I know you bought it.
On fairy loot version, yeah.
So the narrative choices, first person, present tense, but like so present, there's no distance between thoughts as they are happening and actions as they are happening. There is no ability to look back unless it's truly past. So everything we're reading is like we are in the character's head as they are living that moment. And the reason why that's important, so I know one of the podcasts mentioned like hating the structure and that every sentence was a new paragraph, sentences were short, yada yada. I can't I can't speak to whether that's a frustrating reading experience. I could understand how it could be, but I could also understand from a narrative point of view why that might be the case. If this person, we are living this moment with this character, how many of us think in actual paragraphs?
Barely a sentence. I mean, this is another complaint, the same complaint about like the sentences are so, the paragraphs are chopped up. Saw that in Blood of Hercules. A lot of there was people complaining about the paragraph and sentence structures there. And it's like, this is a character that is experiencing things one thought at a time. And maybe because I take this not personally, but one time Amy said, and I'm not offended by this, it makes me relate to these characters, that I treat my commas like periods and my periods like commas. But that's genuinely kind of how I think. Like, that's not just how I read, but that's also how I think, is that if I'm trying to make a comma, a dramatic point, it kind of turns into a period. And if I'm talking, I kind of need this one next sentence to roll into the next one. So to me, I can see a character, if I had their voice in my head, of making it very punchy like that. Like I sent the first 5 chapters of my book to beta readers, and there was one that said, I get what you're doing. It's coming in choppy. And I was just like, that's just how she talks. I can't help you.
Yeah. And I think we're feeling revved up because of what we've heard other people say. And I think for me, and I'm not trying to defend the book because it's a masterpiece. Read it for vibes, had a good time. Structurally, here's my feeling. I'm not going to entertain the fact that it was written by AI. But for those of you who might believe that it was written by AI, whether or not it was written by AI, a traditional publisher would have made those sentences and paragraphs normal and full length unless there was a narrative reason for it. Because that's what we're used to seeing.
And that's what people are missing, is like creativity and narrative purpose. What is the point about it? I think the reason why I get revved up when it comes to these types of books is that, is the writing revolutionary? No. Is any of these top best-selling fucking books revolutionary? No. No, they are not. The way that people ripped into this one compared to some other books that I've seen that people are obsessed with, you cannot say that this is significantly worse or the other thing is better. Like, it just gets it annoys me. And I also know it because I'm not going to pretend like my own writing is fantastic like that. You know what I mean? Like, I can write vibes. I do write vibes. I know it. Maybe I'll get some good sentences in there, but whoever declares what's talented writing is so subjective. And there's too many people who come in there and be like, well, it's so obvious that it's like this type of writing, where it's like, you guys.
Yeah. And I think that, I think about this often, which is the great American authors, by the way, who are all dead white men, were not appreciated until they were dead. Very few actually saw success in their lifetimes. And so for us to determine now, these authors who are actively writing, whether it's good or bad, I don't think it really matters.
No. I mean, you'll get the occasional absolute masterpiece of like, I can't even think about, like, we've done some, I can't remember any off the top of my head. The way you talked about Babel was,
I didn't read,
or not Babel, Poppy Wars.
Yeah, Poppy Wars. I mean, I would say I love Stacey McEwen's A Forbidden Alchemy. I thought that was a masterpiece.
Agreed. I think Rachel Gillig is a fantastic author. Her descriptions, everything like that. It's, yeah, like there's some that you're just like, but like when it comes to the writing itself and beyond the craft of like narrative like sentence structure, you know, because like Angela Montoya, fucking fantastic book. Am I going to go in and say that her prose are particularly, you know, prosy? No, but like she nailed the book and story.
Yeah, I think the other thing is that writing is an art. And just like all art is not the same. If you go into a museum, maybe you don't understand why this blob on a canvas is in this art museum and worth a bunch of money. And maybe you really appreciate the Renaissance paintings over abstract. And maybe you don't understand why someone values X when you value Y. And that's okay. But just because you don't value Y doesn't mean you should shit on it.
I just can't imagine that if this was like a thriller novel and a man was coming into the like that space and it's like this is a, you know, this is a best-selling author. I just don't imagine the conversation being surrounded like this.
Fiction Fan says, imagine how boring life would be if all art was the same. If everybody wrote like SJM, I would pull out my hair. I love SJM.
Yeah.
But I don't always want to read SJM.
SJM doesn't write like SJM. That's the thing, right? Is that like we get to like we're currently analyzing Heir of Fire, and it's kind of like, girl, I know you've just written ACOTAR. What are we doing with this? But then there's moments of Heir of Fire, like with the orchestra, and you're like, this is your writing, babe, right? So it's kind of like SJM doesn't write like SJM.
Jesse says, I know you've talked a lot about how there are no original ideas at this point, but Silver Elite felt less original compared to other similar books, and I wasn't compelled by the characters as much as in others, but it was still a fun read.
All right, so now we're going to move into the subject of originality, because I have a lot of thoughts on that too.
Oh, let me add this one thing before I forget. The ending was not satisfying, though, and didn't feel like it made much sense to me. So I think the ending is a whole completely other topic. So
we'll touch into the ending. Okay.
So, yeah, talk about originality.
I am sorry. I am not coming at you personally or to any of the listeners that submitted thoughts personally. You're allowed to have your opinions. That's okay. This is mine. All right. When it comes to originality, this was one of the first things that I talked to Amy about, was that is something I saw people say, like, oh, this is just like AI because you just throw all these tropes in and this is what it came out to. All right. First and foremost, you can't complain about tropes and then say that you have favorite tropes or that you love certain tropes. Like, you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't be mad that this book isn't original. Again, not talking to you, but like this book isn't original because of, like, you know, it has all these things, these tropes. I'm referencing comments I've seen online, but then be like, I love enemies to lovers.
So here's so some of the comments have been like, well, they pull XYZ was pulled from this novel, XYZ was pulled from this novel, etc. I don't think anybody has a monopoly on war colleges or military bases.
This other podcast talked about salt mines.
Yes. One of the podcasts, I was like, nobody has a monopoly on salt mines. And it was such a tiny thing. It wasn't even foundational to the story.
No, it wasn't like our girl came back after working a year in the salt mines. There are salt mines. And this podcast was like, oh, there's Throne of Glass. I'm like, the fuck? Oh my God. And then there was another one of, oh, they're in college. It's a war college. That's going to be Rebecca Yarros. And I want to be like, okay, Ember and Ash, like, or any other war colleges that there are out there. And also, this isn't even a war college. This is like training camp. That's the other thing. This isn't a war college. This is just recruitment.
Yeah.
What the fuck? And then another moment was, people were saying that this podcast, they were like, oh, well, she shoots at the desert. She shoots at the guy's canteen because he's not paying attention to her. well, that's just like Hunger Games. I'm like, oh my, people have done like trick shots to get attention.
Yeah.
Tons of times.
Yeah. And I think whether or not, I don't think it was pulling from Hunger Games. If it was pulling from Hunger Games, what matters is it was in character.
It was in character, and honestly different enough because they aren't, yes, they're grading her, but they're not grading her but to go into a challenge to go see if she succeeds to fight to the death to survive. Like there's enough factors that's different that you can pull from something and then call independence from it, you know?
Yeah. I think the other thing is everything we read is a type of salad. It's a trope salad. Everything we talk about on this podcast is about salads with tropes. And sometimes they have the same ingredients. And that's okay because tropes are what publishers use to market books, what authors use to add quote unquote butter to their books. It's something we recognize and we latch onto, and it helps progress the story. And I think, like you said, Jack, we can't harp on tropes because if you can't write a story without tropes.
Okay, before we read comments, I want to do one more thing that like pissed me the fuck off. Sorry, this podcast. One of the things they said was, okay, if you want to pull things like Powerless from Red Queen, well, I feel like this pulls way more from Hunger Games than Powerless did from Red Queen. And I was like, okay, first off, we are the first to defend Powerless. Okay, go back and listen to that episode. But if you genuinely think that that Silver Elite pulls more from Hunger Games than Powerless did from Red Queen, I cannot help you at that point.
Yep. And see, here I was, while I was listening to it, when we understand that the zones are named after letters and that there used to be 26, but now some of them got combined. I was like, oh, that's a fun take on the 1 through 13 of Hunger Games. And I wasn't mad about it.
There was a dystopian craze back in the early 2010s, and everyone is mad because this book was like, and the other thing, people are like, this isn't dystopian. Yes, it is. It's in a I don't know.
Post-apocalyptic world.
It's a post-apocalyptic world. I know there's magic involved. I know there's other things happening, but it may not be in the forefront the way that it is in Divergent, because people were like, oh, this is Divergent with Hunger Games.
Yeah. I didn't read or watch Divergent, so I can't speak to that.
Theo James.
Yeah, but if you take Theo James out of it, is it worth it?
I liked the first book a lot. I liked the first book. I liked the first movie. It was really interesting. Talk about a story, an author who really dropped the ball by the third one. It was bad. She fucked up. But it was never, I think we're actually going to see her at one of the events we're going to at BookCon.
Yeah.
You know, masterpiece. Honestly, when you think about it, just from what I remember, I could go back and reread it differently and I might have a different experience. I think I was just mad because something happened that I didn't want. So therefore it was trash in my little, 20-something-year-old mind. But alphabet, different zones. You know what also has something kind of similar to that? Man in the High Castle.
Hmm.
You just have different zones. Like, that's not... Hunger Games didn't invent that.
I'm going to take a sip.
Take a sip.
So some other comments that we've seen is unconvincing world building or not enough world building. And, on one hand, it's pretty clear it's our world, but in the future. On the other hand... Now, there's a lot of romantasies out there that do a great job with world building, and there are others that don't. At the end of the day, it's about romance fantasy, with romance being number one, with fantasy elements. And I guess I give it a pass. It was enough for me.
I'm going to come back to Ren was raised 3 years in darkness and then lived in Zone Z for years. What does she know of the world?
Right. It's true.
Like,
It's
I mean,
true.
that comes down to, and do you think Ren is going to be the kind of character that's going to be surprised when she sees things? No, instead what she's going to do is wear the same clothes every single day and not tell anyone that she doesn't have her own clothes.
Yeah. It's a great point.
That's what Ren does.
Right. And when she is going into this big city to her father, uncle's execution, is she really going to be looking around?
No.
No.
Did she get there on her own or did she have help getting there? She had help getting there. Like, Ren has never traveled on her own. The first time she tries to travel on her own, she takes that bike thingy and almost crashes it into a ward, whatever. You know what I mean? Like a force field. So I don't like the one time that she does something on her own, she fucks up. What makes you think that this young woman has any understanding of the world? So, and when you are in such narrow first person, and in you have gone from a small town to a prison to a college. What more world do you need from there? It's like you need to pick up the context clues. And this isn't going to be the type of book that's going to paint it out for you while she's crossing the parapet, precipice, whatever. Parapet. And thinking, I'm going to recite the entire world in these 4 paragraphs. You know what I mean?
By the way, we hated.
Which we hated. So, yeah, it's just like very much where it's like, pick up context clues, guys. That's what you got to do.
Yeah. So, Fiction Fan says, I want Trope Salad merch now, which I think is an excellent idea.
Yeah, it is.
Jess, going back to our dystopian conversation, said, Hunger Games is not the only dystopian option. The first books of Divergent were good, but the third Divergent book made me want to light the whole world on fire and never read another book again.
That's how I remember that, but I want to give myself enough room to have a different opinion in case we meet her.
Mm-hmm. Jess also says, the expectation of writing styles is absurd. We aren't talking about reading the Odyssey or Shakespeare for the first time. There are way too many experts, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And last comment, I thought her take on the War College training force was interesting, but how this world all came wasn't as much of a standout as others. It kind of fell flat for me in pulling me into the world and caring about the outcome. And that's, I think that's okay.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's completely fair if part of your joy in reading comes from being pulled into the world. Ren is not the character to pull you into her world. And so fundamentally, it makes sense why you wouldn't enjoy the book.
Yeah. I mean, at that point, I got a book for you. Go read some Thea. She'll pull you into a world.
Oh, yeah.
Real tight. I mean, talk about fantastic world building there. But for me, I'm very much a character-driven person. I like to see what my characters are doing. So that's why I was blown away by this other podcast and other comments I saw online of them saying like, well, she's not that. There's no character development. Okay, she starts off this book absolutely like drilling into us that she will never open up to anyone, that she's not even open up to her own uncle because she hasn't told her uncle about Wolf. That is who she is at the beginning. And at the end, she has given herself entirely to Cross. That's not character development for you?
Yeah.
She ends up feeling betrayed by Lily. Is that her friend's name?
Liddy.
She ends up feeling betrayed by Liddy versus at the beginning, she probably would have felt, yeah, I should have expected that.
Right. She's like, I can't be friends with anybody here. They're not mods. They would turn me in. Like, Ren of the beginning of the book would have expected what Liddy did.
Exactly.
Ren of the end of the book was caught off guard.
She says, Liddy loves me. That implies that you love her back. Do you not? And that she's accepted this friendship. Like, that is character development. I cannot help if you do not pick up context clues and that it's not laid out for you. But it kind of is because it's first person.
Yeah. I think some of the comments were upset with Liddy and that it wasn't believable. It was out of character. Of the things I've read and heard, There's a lot of, well, this was out of character. Well, this was out of character. Well, not really.
Didn't we establish that Liddy's a big old gossip? Like, that was one of the first things that Ren clocks about her is, oh, wow, she's really easy to like, she loves gossiping.
She will give away all information.
Midway through the book, once they kind of separate, she goes, she's not very good at, classified information. Another moment in the book, she really hates the modified.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing about that ending scene with Liddy was her grabbing Ren to look at her thigh. That's the only one that I'm like, well, that seems aggressive. That is the one thing that I'll be like, okay, was that,
could
I have
really
imagined? Yeah, like I think it would have been better if she had seen, and maybe like if I go and reread it, she would have seen a glimpse of it, and that's just her having an excuse trying to look at it. That scene felt a little like, okay, I can see that. I can see why people have felt that clunky, but Liddy turning her in, I thought was extremely realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the other people who was called out for being inconsistent was Kane, which I laugh about. I really liked Kane's character.
I did too.
And then, but it's so inconsistent when we meet him again at the end of the book.
You mean when he was faking who he was the whole entire time?
You mean if he's a completely different person, he did his job as a spy correctly?
Yeah. You mean that this is the kind of person who, okay, because the two things that I heard from that podcast was, how could he have let those innocent people die? And why did he report Ren when he saw Ren leaving, like canoodling with Cross? Okay, well, he's jealous because we know he's jealous. Like, he made it clear that he was interested in Ren. And two, he's a spy. And I actually thought it was a good writing choice that she chose that only Kane was the spy and got everyone else killed. I thought that was a brave choice.
I did too. I think on the killing innocent people front, in his eyes, those aren't innocent people, and he's part of a resistance, right?
Yeah.
When Tyler's one of the people that gets killed, somebody was upset that, I feel bad, we're really harping on this one podcast.
I'm sure they're lovely, and I hope no one ever finds out who I'm talking about, and do not contact them. I just didn't want to come after our listeners, so I picked strangers on the internet. Genuinely, that's what it was.
Well, the only other thing I can think of him turning it, or him commenting or reporting Cross and Ren being together, I'm like, that's also a great distraction technique.
Right?
Get the fire off of him if he's worried about his identity being revealed.
Absolutely.
That's what I would do. I'd fuck around.
Yeah, you would. You would do both. You'd literally fuck people and then go point the finger at other people. You'd live your best life.
I would.
And I'd want that for you. Yeah, it blows my mind on some of the things that, and it's not just this podcast. Like, I took, let me read some screenshots of things, of comments I saw on TikTok. Cause again, I was just trying to find other people. Someone said, and I saw this a lot also online, that it read as conservative propaganda. And one of the people on like in our own submission form was like, someone said that it's Nazi dating, like it's a Nazi romance. Is that right? Okay. Hey guys. So a classic thing in books is an oppressed group of people, and there's metaphors to that. Can you choose to look at this as Nazi Germany with Jews being attacked? I guess, but I actually think that's probably the least comparable to it.
So let's take a step back. So the general eradicated the mods.
Yeah.
After killing the monarch that was oppressing the primes. So this is it's just a classic story about oppression.
That ultimate power ultimately corrupts. That is the most Hunger Games-esque aspect about this, is that not even the like specific dynamic of it, but just the essence and the message of there is no, like, they're all corrupt, there is no good guy. That is that is what I picked up, like, again, they're not even doing it the same way, but just the similar vibes. And I love that shit. I love the idea that there's no such thing as a good leader and that you have no one to turn to and you're just trying to choose the lesser of two evils.
Yeah. And I agree. I see the similarity with Hunger Games, but it's not a copycat. That the resistance is also not perfect. And they are problematic in their own ways. And that's probably true of all real life rebellions and revolutions.
That's just true of, like, all leadership. Like, you know what I mean? It's so frustrating. I think I'm sorry that Star Wars Rebellion made you think that, you know,
true, that they're all righteous.
Exactly. Like, there's the absolute good. I prefer my stories to have this, like, we just talked about this. I can't remember.
We just talked about morality.
Yeah. And I love the idea of struggling with morality, of not knowing, like, I think people should constantly be questioning if what they're doing is moral or not. I love a book that does this shit. So yeah, it does. I don't even know where we started on that, but yes.
Yeah. I'm like, where did we talk about morality? Maybe it was episode 8.
It was episode 8 with Fire.
Yeah. Jess says, what the actual fuck? Conservative propaganda.
Oh, yeah.
And then that's like the recent BookTok drama of a BookToker saying that people who read romantasy have a patriarchy kink. What?
Yeah.
The actual fuck?
Yep. I think because we think military, we assume it's Republican. And you probably could come in and say that the command are Republican. Yeah, sure. And our heroine is trying to, like, break it down.
And our heroine is trying to fight the system and stick it to the man. Why are we mad?
I actually love this idea that the command are Republicans and the rebellion are liberals, and you're just sitting there being like, and this is I guess I support them because this is bad, but at the same time, you guys should be doing much better.
Yeah, and it's not just Republican, it's conservative, right? Because
conservative, yeah.
Conservatives exist wherever you exist.
Yes.
Just like liberals exist wherever you exist.
But I understand just being in a person and, like, the shit show of, like, okay, well, I personally should be I'm voting liberal, but I don't like most of you.
Yeah.
Like, you guys suck too.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and I think that's kind of where, if you want to look, it's just so funny when they're like, oh, well, this is just Republican propaganda. I'm like, what part where she's trying to blow it up? What?
So this is one of the reasons why I think we keep our discussion to our personal views, because I feel uncomfortable telling people I don't feel uncomfortable telling people they're wrong, but I don't want our podcast to get blasted for that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what we liked about the book.
Oh, are you saying that we were shitting on the other podcast too much?
Maybe.
It's okay. If they somehow found out, I would be like, I am truly sorry. I just it was going to be you or Goodreads. And they genuinely were summarizing the same vibes I saw online. So if it wasn't them, it would be all the comments I saw online. They didn't, and I don't mean this in an insulting way, but they didn't bring an original thought of dislike to it. So that I'm not attacking their specific views. It's just that a lot of the things they talked about, I've seen consistently online.
And they had seen online too.
Exactly. So no, things that you liked. Go ahead. You go first.
I actually really, really enjoyed the, like, military boot camp training, just the culture, the vibes of it, based on, and I don't know that it matches anything that exists, but, like, based on what I've heard my brother talk about his own training with the Marines and how things go down. I was like, yeah, that feels spot on. And I thought it was believable. I enjoyed the complications of it being co-ed. I just enjoyed it. I was okay with it.
I really liked this book. I had fun with it. I loved Cain. I love the idea of that they were kind of dabbling this idea of a love triangle. I love that she actually made out with Cain. I love that she would have slept with Cain if it wasn't for circumstances. I love that there were key moments where Dani very much set it up to be, is Wolf Cain? Like just very small moments where like she thought, I'm talking to Wolf. Cain and Cain has no idea. He's right beside me. Like like these little moments where you're like, is it Cain? I mean, once we found out that Wolf was cross, you're not surprised, but Wolf could have been Cain. And I think everyone would have also said, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. And, one thing one of the reasons why I started to become uncomfortable was because I was convinced early on, well, Cross is Wolf. But then I started to second guess myself. I started to be like, well, what if Ro is Wolf? What if Travis is Wolf? And I started to get worried. And, and it ended up being
who we thought it would be, but
right.
But there was enough little things in there being like, wait, is it Cross? Or could it be someone else?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I liked keeping me on my toes that way. I really enjoyed how Cross also acted like a 20-something-year-old. I liked that Cross was, in a leader, but at the end of the day, a young 20-something-year-old as well. And the way that him and his friends would just kind of like let loose and hang with everyone. And the way that he was just horny for her, like unabashedly so.
Yeah. I mean, if we like Rhysand and if we like Kingfisher and how horny they are for their women, Cross is no different.
I like that he was more vocal about it sometimes.
Yeah,
like he just was like, kiss me, please kiss me. Can you kiss me now? What about, just tell me that you want me to kiss me. That you want me to kiss you. Everyone else would have let me
Yeah.
And then the fact that like she interrupts him about to have sex because she crawls through his window. That's funny.
That's really funny. When have we seen that?
I don't know. I was like, that's actually hilarious. Like she just happened to walk in on him. And
yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'm surprised her first reaction, like when she found out that it was Wolf, because Wolf said at one point, I haven't had sex in months. And then my first thought would have been like, hey, so you are Wolf. You said you didn't have sex in months. Well, what the fuck were you about to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I would have no reason to be mad at. And yet I would have been mad. I enjoyed their dynamic and their relationship quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, their dynamic is what had me listening to this more often than I normally listen to books. Like, I typically save the audiobooks that I listen to, especially for book club, for my commute, sometimes while I'm getting ready for bed. But this was like any spare moment I got, I wanted to listen to it. I don't feel that way about Brimstone right now, but that's that.
Yeah, I remember feeling very uncomfy because I had to stop at a certain point because of book club or like other podcast related things. And I was like, I don't know if I want to go back into it because it was getting tense.
Yeah.
And uncomfy. But that's a good thing. Like you feel bad. Just take a moment to appreciate what the hell you're feeling. And maybe that's a good thing. It's the way that like, oh my God, I haven't felt as horrible reading a book as Alchemized, or not Alchemized, A Forbidden Alchemy. Oh my God, I hated it. I hated every single feeling I had there, and I loved it.
Yeah, it was so good.
Fantastic. So I think sometimes people get confused of like their own, what their body is experiencing and considering what's good or bad, where it's like, no, you should feel bad. That's like the point.
Yeah. If that was the intention, the author succeeded. It's like the movie The Joker. So uncomfortable the entire time. And that is the point. The point is to be uncomfortable. Jess and Fiction Fan, thank you for your presence. I hope that you did not feel attacked. Today was a crunchy day. To begin with.
Oh, super happy to be here. Okay, thank you.
And Jess says, I think I'd forgotten how much hate this book had received, and I do always appreciate how much you defend books.
So that's where I feel crunchy about is I think everyone is entitled to not like something. I entirely think that there's been many books that I have not liked. And I don't say which books specifically on the podcast because I don't want people to feel bad about it. Granted, I have a platform. And 2, the books that I have not cared for, I will list to you what it is that I wasn't a fan of. The things that like bug me and the things that set me off and what made me mad for this were the accusations of AI. That was the thing that, and then the fact that everyone was pointing at different women as to like, well, this is trash. And then the way that they would be like, well, objectively so, this is trash. And I'm like, fuck you, no. And that's not our listeners. That's like what I saw online. So it's like, don't say something's objectively trash.
When it's obviously subjective.
Yeah. And so it's very much like some of our listeners, it felt soulless. Okay. Like that's it. I can't bring soul into you. I can't do that for you. Like that's okay that you didn't feel it.
And I mean, to what extent did Ren have soul? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, like I liked that I liked her soullessness. You know what I mean? Like there was parts about it. I'm going to read. Other people said that it felt like it dragged in parts. All right. Like I can see where you're saying like structurally it wasn't for you. Romance more physical than emotional level, plot twists with Wolf predictable. Again, like this is more like for me it was fine. Other people it's fine if it's not. It was just the like when I saw online the accusations of it being AI and then saying that it's bad. I just don't think people realize how harmful of an accusation it is to accuse an author of AI.
Yeah. Especially A, you don't know that for sure. B, what if they spent years on this and now you've reduced years of their life to a computer that can do this in a couple seconds? That is also terrible. Yeah.
Apparently there was a lot of grammatical mistakes, which we didn't read, but that was like a huge critique people had online, which funny enough is like a huge thing people are saying about Brimstone. And
oh, really?
Yeah, that's the beauty of us listening and not reading is that there was a lot of people saying that this, like, there's so many mistakes. This is horrible. You shouldn't have this many mistakes in books, which we'll talk more about in Brimstone. But my thing is AI wouldn't make those mistakes.
I think that I can understand that if someone feels like the grammar that is or is not observed in the book that they're reading, if that is pulling them out of the reading experience, that is completely legitimate. It is illegitimate to accuse someone of not having integrity while writing a book.
It's like when people do that, I'm just like, do you think you could have written a better book? You know, when we talk about books that we've been harsher on and criticized, we will come down to, here are the things that we struggled with. You know, and it's just our interpretation. It has nothing to do with it. But at the end of the day, that's an author who fucking wrote a book and good for them.
And they got published or they self-published and they got people to read it.
So then to dismiss all of that, to dismiss the journey of outlining a book, of writing the book, we're going to have to do an episode on what it takes to write a book because people don't realize how much work goes into it. And then to dismiss it and accuse it of AI because you didn't really like the writing, I think is one of the most insulting things you can do to a writer and into the bookish space right now. So that's why I feel like hyped up for it because I can't promise you that I'm going to be a better writer, that my prose are going to be better. I would hope so, but I can't promise that. And like, that makes me paranoid of like, oh, well, someone's going to say that I'm AI.
I think we as readers in this day and age, with the proliferation of books that we love, of books that appeal to us, that have not been written before or are emerging, with it has come a sense of entitlement to a certain consistent level or standard that just, quite frankly, doesn't exist. And Yeah, I agree with you, Jack. At the end of the day, like my heart goes out to Dani Francis because unless proven otherwise, legitimately proven otherwise,
she's just an innocent writer in this.
I'm going to assume she wrote with integrity. Her publishers kept her, honest. Her
And that she's
editor
not, and that she's a decent human being and not J.K. Rowling. Like,
right. Like, I feel like authors like Shakespeare, like novelists that we study in college, are coming from, they're privileged not just because they're white men, but because they're dead. They don't have to deal with anybody who's in love or hates their work. And I think in an age of social media and instant access to our favorite authors or not favorite authors is a very, very poisonous type of place to be. And so I think it's very brave of anybody who decides to put their work out there.
I listened to several podcasts talking about this book, and one of the other consistent things I heard was, well, I just want Dani to post more on social media, show me that it's actually a person. And yet we're going to be mad when authors are in reader spaces. You know what I mean? Like, and yet we're going to be mad. Like, no, it's not. It's hard. Social media is hard. Okay.
Yeah. And I really dread the day that I have to do that because I want to publish a book where I have to be.
How many times have you already rewritten your first chapter?
Oh my God. I can't. I don't even want to think about it.
And imagine, and that's before
an editor ever sees it.
Before editor, before all the other revisions finally will happen.
Yeah.
And then imagine someone saying, "Oh, that sounds AI." Like, you don't know the blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. And like Amy said, until proven otherwise, we have to treat this as that it was like, this is a woman who worked on this book just like any other author has worked on their book. I'm going to read other comments. Positive. I'm going to read some positive comments. The main character and friends, love the twist. I liked the power system and overall world building. I also liked the romance, unpopular opinion. You know what's interesting is that this book has something to do with power and veins, and my book has something to do with power and veins, and I wrote that before.
You read this? Yeah.
I read this. Let it be known. Have it be cited here.
Yeah. I thought about that too. And then there was something about power and veins in Brimstone.
Yeah. Like, veins and powers are very important in my world. It's how they're named. And I know someone's going to be like, oh, well, this is just like Silver Elite. Suck my dick. Preemptively.
For a second, who I thought it could be, not that I care if it is or is not. There was a point where I thought it could have been Victoria Aveyard, because she says the phrase Silver Elite in The Red Queen at one point.
Okay, you guys, this is
not going in the podcast.
No, I don't even want this recorded. I'm going to just text you.
Okay. While you're texting me, Jess said, I appreciate the apology because I have way too many feelings, but it wasn't needed. Pushing back on those allegations is really needed. And she was very gracious. Thank you, as always, for stirring conversation and thoughtful discussion.
Oh.
She had to log off to drive home.
Oh, that's very kind.
It was very kind of her. Fiction Fan says, I too fear that as a writer who aspires to publish one day, talking about social media. There are people who said they liked the FMC.
Yeah.
There are some people who said they liked the MMC.
Felt well paced, nice and snappy. It followed rule of 3. I think that's another thing that people like, in the third time it's going to be different because that's the rule of 3.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, in the Jungle Cruise movie, we knew that the third door was going to unlock because the first 2 doors didn't lock.
Right.
Or didn't unlock. You know what I mean? It's just funny where it's like, you see it everywhere. It is predictable, but it's supposed to be because that's just how it works because rule of 2 doesn't work.
Well, and that's just our culture has been built, our storytelling as a society has been built on these concepts.
Someone says the romance did something to me.
This was very Moorish, but in a junk food way, which I get.
I will not die on the hill that this was a perfectly written book.
I will not
I
die.
will not sit here and say that this was a masterpiece.
No, absolutely
It was
not.
a vibe. It was fun. I thoroughly enjoyed it. The hate is unwarranted.
Yeah. Here, at the end of the day, all books should be approached for the vibe. And if it happens to be well written, that is a plus. You know, like if it happens to be a literary masterpiece, which is rare, then wow, amazing. But I mean, this also reminds me of your like 2 and 3 star article on SSJ.
Let's talk about that a little bit. The lost stars. It's like if we treat life as if it's not a 5-star, it's a failure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And would I give this book 5 stars? No. Would I give it a 4-star? Maybe. Yeah, probably because of the vibes. But maybe I would give it a 5-star. I don't rate things because I'm not consistent with my ratings.
No one should ever listen to my rating system. My rating system is, did I have fun? Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a 5-star.
Yeah.
This is a 5-star book for me because I had a lot of fun. I read a book and I enjoyed it. Did I enjoy it to the same degree as I keep looking at Forbidden Alchemy, The Night and the Moth? No, but like
that doesn't make it lesser then.
I also don't have it in me to read another Forbidden Alchemy.
I don't
want to read another Forbidden Alchemy.
I dread the day I read the sequel because I know I'm going to hurt.
Did you see what she posted on her on Threads?
No.
She wrote, everyone's going to hate how this is going to go, and I already accept it.
Like, yeah, we also know that she is internally very gleeful about that.
Oh, absolutely. I love her so much. But yeah, that's the thing where it's like, they're both 5 stars for me for different reasons. But at the end of the day, my 5-star rating is, did I have a good time? And the answer to that is, yeah, I did have a good time. I will not die on the hill that this is the best book that's ever been written.
No.
Not in the slightest.
One of the other podcasts was comparing this to their other 5-star read that they had just read. And I was like, that was not a 5-star for me.
I know. Well, I did rate that 5-star because I had a good time.
I didn't.
Sorry. I want to... Really?
Yeah, but we then interviewed the author, so I was never going to say that.
Oh, that's interesting. I actually really did enjoy it. Okay, I want to read one other note. I know we're like winding down, but Ren showing her scars, like getting rid of the scars to prove to Cross that she's all in, is dumb. She never proved she was smart to me.
I mean, yeah, she never proved to me that she was capable of higher level thinking.
Yeah. So it was kind of, I'm like, girl, that was dumb. But, you know, it's not out of character.
Nope, not at all.
So they said that it's high stakes, but also not high stakes because the options are either be killed or get sent to slave labor. And they said, if I know what the high stakes are, which is death, then it's predictable and not high stakes. And I want to say, what's more high stakes than death? Or
in what? But isn't the high stakes always death in romantasies?
And even if we know that the stakes are death or get sent to a labor camp, even if you know that it doesn't stop it from being high stakes.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the complaints I can agree with is how Ren was like, well, if I fail at joining the Silver Squad or whatever they're called, not Silver Elite, that they'll just kick me out. I was like, honey, that's a little dumb.
This is a little dumb.
But again, in character, yeah, absolutely.
It was, yeah, like I think that, let's talk a little bit about the ending before we wrap up, because I know this is a long episode and we both want to go to sleep. I think I would have liked another, I don't know what I wanted out of the ending. I think I might have liked another chapter or two to get into it, but I have nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with what happened, but I'm also like, oh, but I wouldn't want it dragged out either. And I think it all made sense. I don't know. Actually, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with the ending.
Yeah, I didn't need any more of the book was the right length in my mind. It didn't need any more. I understand the complaints that Ren didn't warn the resistance that someone was coming with her.
Yeah, again, but our girl's not smart.
But yeah, she's consistently proven she doesn't think things all the way through.
No, I was about to say she was homeschooled, but I know many homeschool people, and they are the smartest individuals. Dear Lord.
Yeah, Ren just is impulsive. Ren has a one-track mind, and she proved it time and time again. She developed, but she didn't develop in that area.
And nor was she going to, because this is a 3-book series. You're not going to have that figured out in this book. I liked that. I'm liking that more books are ending with the MMC and the FMC like still together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah. I like that we're not going into the next book questioning their relationship. I like going into the next book thinking this could get really bad for them.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Cain is going to try to get in the middle of things. Maybe there's going to be an argument. There's going to be things that we're going to think is plenty of predictable.
Yeah.
But
someone said it was it felt like a formula. Well, yeah, it was following a formula.
The formula was book.
The formula was hero's journey.
Yeah. So I hope I know that there's probably going to be a lot of people that are going to say, I disagree with you guys. That sucks. Okay. Like, again, it's totally okay. The hill I am not going to die on is to make you like this book. That is not the hill that I choose to die on. The one that I choose to die on, the one I choose to fight to the better end, is throwing around AI accusations when not having consideration on the impact of that and what it means to the author. Because innocent until proven guilty.
Right. Well, and what I didn't finish saying earlier was readers are in this very privileged position, very entitled position where they don't have to do the work.
No, they get to read a book in 24 hours that someone spent 2 years working on.
And lots of blood, sweat, and tears. Like, it is kind of daunting how much a person puts of their soul into a book for it then to be consumed very, very quickly and either dismissed or cherished.
And it is within everyone's right to dismiss this book. It is within your absolute right to disagree with every single thing that we said and say, you know what? I do think it fell flat. I do, it did fall flat. It did, the characters weren't developed. Ren was too stupid. It is absolutely within your right. The part that got me revved up was that AI accusation, and I'll ride for it. I'll ride for authors until it's proven. I'll ride for Dani for that.
Yeah, I agree.
Just imagine if someone accused what we've done to our own writing as AI. It would kill it. I would cry. I would absolutely cry. I already have the veins in my book. Not the same thing, but there's veins that light the fuck up. And one of the women in my book is named Elowin. And one of the notes I got back was, that's the same from When the Moon Hatched, or whatever that book is called. And I was like, no, spelled differently. And I thought of it before I read it.
Yeah. Well, it's like when I read Thea Guanson's The Hurricane Wars. I was like, God damn it. She came up with a magic system that is similar to the magic system I came up in 2018 or 2007, God, and wrote a book in 2016, 2018, and just never got around to revising and publishing. And then in 2022, she publishes a book that has a similar magic system. And yeah, it sucks, but oh well.
What? And the choice becomes, do I just forge through, or do I have to change an entire thing? Because God forbid someone says I stole from this book and I used AI to do it. Or is it separate enough, and have I made it my own enough to say, okay, yes, like, again, I wasn't even inspired by it, but like, again, we didn't invent the concept of like veins being powerful. So yeah, it's rough out there.
Yeah. It is. Fiction Fan says, I empathize with this so much, I worry that someone's already written something I write. And you know what? And if they have, just make it, it's about you writing your own version. It's about you writing the story you want to tell. And if you love it enough, it's worth the effort.
Or that I'm unknowingly taking inspiration from something I read long time ago.
But it's okay to be inspired by other people.
Yeah, my book is inspired by Inuyasha. And I like, it is. I also know that it's different enough that no one can say that I took from it, but people are going to. They love it.
Here's the other thing. Nobody gets mad at retellings of classics.
No.
Of Disney stories, which are Grimm stories, which are, hands.
No, you're in a good spot. No one is going to be mad at a retelling of
no one's going to be mad at a lesbian retelling of a Jane Austen book set in the future.
Yeah. It is nice. It is nice that
but, if you can't get mad at a full-on retelling, how can you get mad at someone probably accidentally, unintentionally having similarities with somebody else's book?
Maybe because I'm not in men's spaces for a reason, and I don't know if I ever want to be, but I would just love to know if the same discourse is happening.
No.
Within the manosphere of them being like, hey, Stephen King stole from this, bro. Or are they, don't let the men be better than us.
Right. Does anybody care that Stephen King probably has several ghostwriters? No.
The people stopped caring about that a long time ago.
Yeah.
No, we sign out, yo. All right, love you guys.
Bye.
And goodbye to our live watchers. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. Stick around for a special episode this Thursday. Next week, we will be discussing Blood and Brujas by Michaela Hernando.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our form at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or in a Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle BookTok for BookTok. And don't forget to join us by subscribing to the Subtext Society Journal.substack.com to get more insights into the romantasy and romance world. Bye.